Today we talked about, are homeowners fed up, or is the housing market defrosting? Is the election affecting the real estate market? NAR spends the most amount of money lobbying. People's perspectives on real estate agents. The housing shortage is starting to ease, but many young adults are still living with their parents. Mortgage demand went up, and how the Stanley Cup has taken over the world. Do you think the housing market is starting to defrost, or are homeowners just fed up with status quo and ready to make a move? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that people are starting to get the itch, that there's some pressure, downward pressure on rates. Inventory's slightly up. They got a little bit more to choose from. And hey, the time is now to go out there and get into the game, I think.
Before the prices get jacked up again, maybe.
Yeah, it's coming. Price increasing is going to continue to come.
Yeah, I mean, the presidential election year is always a year of supposedly, lower interest rates, and they like to try to boost up the economy. The economy is good.
Use money.
Keep the incumbent in the office, right?
That's
so
right.
If the Fed is in bed with the current administration, then they're going to start lowering rates, which they've already started to start hinting at that. Like, so when does that come? Does it come in March? Does it come in June?
Yep.
When is it coming?
Well, if history serves us, right? Like, we've been through just a few stumping elections, and most of those times they like you said, they find a way to get that rate a little bit lower to make everything seem more affordable. And without a doubt, right, that's one of the biggest focuses. I don't know about you guys. I'm already hearing it is one of the biggest worries of today's consumer is inflation, cost, economics in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was reading something from Lance Lambert the other day that he was showing historically the difference, the spread between the 10-year and the 30-year fixed, and how, it was bad back in October, November, it was over 300 basis points. It was bad.
Wow.
And it's coming down a little bit, but it's still historically a lot higher. And if the spread was how it has been historically, we'd be looking at rates right now about 5.6%.
Wow. Okay.
And so, there's obviously a lot going on. Obviously, they're not buying mortgage-backed securities right now. The government's not. And so that's presenting more risk to the marketplace. But I think there's a lot of other things going on that people just don't even know about, right? And, kind of an enigma. And will we start to see some pressure on that? I think that if we want to get the rates lower, it's not just as simple as the Fed reducing the rate. It's also, tightening the spread between the federal fund rate and mortgage interest rates.
Well, and it was, what was it? It was a podcast a couple months ago that we talked about, obviously, China and their issues, and then their lack of buying our bonds, right? That's making it weaker, and there's just the world economy that would buy the American bonds, or they're just not buying at the rate that they were.
So a lot going on that could be defrosting the market, though. We obviously think that the election coming up has something to do with it. Elliot, pre-gaming the show, was like, we should talk about, what happened last night.
What happened last night?
That's what I said. I was like, what happened last night?
Well, nothing like
the Iowa caucuses.
Yeah, nothing like polarizing. It's just, it was, to me, it was very clear. Obviously, when you come to it was the Republican, caucus for the main candidates. You have Trump, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, and Vivek Ramaswamy.
I heard he went out, right?
He did go out, but actually, I like that dude. I think he's going to be an up-and-comer. I think he's brilliant, and he's young. He's a total entrepreneur.
Do you think Trump's going to pick him for vice president?
I've actually heard that those scuttlings.
That's just within the community.
So, yeah.
Trump hasn't hinted that at all. I just think that's what everyone's hoping for.
Yeah, I think that dude has a future. I really do.
Well, he's sure, if that's the side you lean on, he sure says the right things. That's for sure.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, my point was, the reason why I brought that up, regardless of whether you lean left, lean right, whatever, is the influence that a party, an administration, a regime can have on the
because Trump's a realtor. Oh, he's in real estate, so I mean, he's
He
pro,
is a
pro
absolute
realtor.
I
real
don't
estate
think
mogul.
I don't know, maybe he's not a
Trump
realtor.
is not a realtor.
He's a real estate mogul.
When you said that, I'm like,
But
wait, what?
But he's
Developer.
He's real estate friendly. So
Pro.
I wonder if he's NAR friendly. I don't know.
Good question.
Could if Trump went back into the office, could these lawsuits just all of a sudden just like bloop and fall away?
Chill out.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I kind of think that they would chill out a little bit.
Like would his Justice Department come in and say no more?
Oh, so
have
it
no idea.
pains me to think that because like I just have this like fundamental belief in the court system, and so
Yeah, right.
uh,
Yeah, I mean, there's
The
this whole
idea of the
scandal
court system is fantastic.
Yes.
yeah, so it hurts. It definitely hurts to hear that for sure.
Yeah.
But it could.
But there's these backdoor,
Exactly.
parties that are going on with judges and things that are like, hey, backdoor, what do they call them? Backdoor agreements.
Yep.
Yeah.
Getting certain judges in and.
Yeah.
So back to real estate.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Well, that's part of real
let's
estate,
not
right?
send this thing down the
So will
the
this
wrong rabbit hole.
change? Will things change if Trump goes back to the office, which is crazy to think about, but
could.
it could.
It could.
Could happen.
You would also think that NAR being the number one, they spend the most money on lobbying.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that would influence things a little as well. And I think that's what they were relying on, to be real. I think that NAR thought that all
Hey,
of the
we
money,
spend all this money.
Yeah.
You're gonna get it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, well,
and then
are you
they,
gonna protect me?
they did not have their back.
I guess it depends on where that money went and who it went to.
True. I mean, we could find that out. Really.
Oh, that
I
was
don't
one
know.
of-
That would actually be interesting.
it would be.
Wasn't you said this a while back, and so I'm just going off of memory. Was it NAR that they spent $40 million on one ad
Party.
company or
Yes.
something
Oh,
like
yes.
that? Some obnoxious
It was
amount of
insane.
money.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like frivolous spending.
I mean, remember when they spent like all that money to redesign the logo, and like
yes.
it
Millions.
looks the same. Like what they add a box around it.
I'm like, damn, I could do that. I got
Canva.
basic skills. I'll do
I
it for
got
10%
Canva.
of the cost.
Yeah.
So-
there's
so-
definitely some corruption going on there.
Well, it feels that way. I don't like to say that
Oh, of
without.
course it is. You don't
but it
spend
feels that
millions of
way.
dollars
That's
to
my-
change a logo.
I don't want to point
Unless
the
there's
finger.
some
I'm just
sort
saying,
of
looks like a duck, acts
Payoff.
like a duck.
Yeah,
might
I
be a
mean,
duck.
come on, go to Fiverr and you can get 100 of them for 100 logos for
Logo
like 10
tournament,
bucks.
baby. Logo tournament.
I think what's been so interesting for me is as I'm like posting content, chop ups of like our podcast and whatnot, I'm getting a lot of response from the public.
Cool.
And it's not so cool when it comes to realtors. I mean, someone
Blasted me for
blasted Jason
'cause I was-
poor
yeah.
realtor had to use 2 apps to
because I was complaining about
Yeah.
using showing time and Align.
and like this poor realtor.
I missed that one.
They're like,
love it.
oh,
Like, all
poor
right.
thing had to use 2 apps to go open some doors to make thousands of dollars.
Well, it
he
wasn't
had to,
that.
like,
It was
swirl his screen to go from one app to another.
well, there was one house where the Align wouldn't open up and showing time, and I thought it was a showing time one. So, and I kept going back to showing time, like, where is this the information? But
Aw,
anyways,
you poor thing.
poor thing, yeah.
Yeah, so
And
hard.
my cell service was bad. Well, it is hard when you have clients standing
There's
behind you
pressure.
Stressful.
with a 2-year-old screaming like running around and stuff.
And
They're-
it's not
like,
working.
and you can't get the freaking box open. It's kind of stressful, you know.
It is
and they're
stressful.
like, oh, is there a problem here? Like, can we see the house? You know.
Yeah, and you
And
feel
just
like you're an idiot.
You're like, I'm sorry, like it's just not working. Sorry, like what am I
Yep.
supposed to do? Like, I gotta wait and like put my cell phone up.
I promise, I've done this before.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Again, poor realtor.
yeah.
Realtor,
Aw, poor Jason. So
Yes.
sad. Wah, wah,
Sad.
wah.
I know, but that's funny though, because that obviously wasn't the context of it. It was these processes are supposed to be being streamlined and not be more
Yeah, and
complicated.
then they give you 2, and half of the realtors use one, half the others use the other one. So
Okay, no longer a problem in Arizona Regional.
no longer a
MLS.
problem. Yeah.
They solved it for you, Jay.
Yep. Aligned it is.
No, so interesting though. Our producer Colby, he brought something to the forefront. He's like, you guys should talk about this, and so let's talk about it. So, looks like the housing shortage is starting to ease. We know that. a little bit more inventory coming to market, more new builds coming to market. But an interesting statistic came up showing that young adults, by and large, are still living with their parents. So between the ages of 25 and 34, 20% of men are still living with their parents, and 12% of women are still living with their parents. So the U.S. homeownership rate has also jumped up to 66% on average, with 38% of them being under 35. Let's unpack that.
Those damn millennials just can't get over themselves.
Just like right on the cusp.
Failure to launch.
Hey,
Matthew McConaughey movie.
I'm one, so, but it's I think there's still a stigma around that. I mean, that's fascinating if you think about that age range, and then how many people below 25 own a house? Or you said 35?
35. So 38%.
So,
It's just so pre-gaming for the podcast. Elliot's like,
Here we go.
I knew this was
Here we go.
It's all right. Jay, I'll be the one getting blasted this time.
no, we got a
Don't
little,
worry, it's all good.
we got a little heated because so we were looking at the stat that says 20% of men between the ages of 25 and 34 are still living with their parents, whereas 12% of women between those ages are still living with their parents. And what was kind of your gut conclusion to that, Elliot?
It says
Mine
the
was
women are
as
just
well-
moving in with men that are paying the mortgages.
Well, and I did a crappy job of explaining that.
I,
Allow me to try
like-
to save face a little bit here, because I can take your heat, but the people listening will blast me, so it's all good. I got thick skin. What I was attempting to say is there's so many times, like at least my life, paying the mortgage has always been my responsibility, right? That primarily was the case. Now, with that said, I'm saying that there's some women, they are potentially moving in with dudes, and it's more of a blended attempt in a blended housing bill, where if a dude, because girls will also move in and date guys that are 10, 15 years older, where that doesn't usually happen in the reverse. And so
We got the Cougars. What are you talking about?
All right, so
I was simply saying though, and how it came across is essentially women are just moving in with dudes who already have a house, and guys are getting the short end of the stick because they can't do that with women.
They can though.
okay,
You just have to be able to. You got to have the old.
As
lady.
predominantly.
All right.
As predominantly.
And I thought that was a disservice to all the single ladies out there, because by and large, the single women
Stats are there.
own more homes than single men. So single women in 2022 owned 58% of homes, whereas single men only owned 42% of homes. Despite that, single women earn on average 82 cents on the dollar for every dollar that a male counterpart makes, which I think
That's
is
18 cents.
It's massive,
Yeah,
and
18%
this
is a
is a
big deal.
huge testament
So what
to
are
all
these
you
men
single
blowing
women.
all their money on? Cars,
Xbox.
Xbox.
Yeah, this is the other thing.
Video
too.
games.
We talked to
Twitch.
Colby, our producer, who's in his early 20s.
Their DoorDash.
And yeah, like, are they spending the money on trying to like look cool on social? Are they trying to spend that money on
OnlyFans?
Yeah, OnlyFans, dating, right? All those
Pornography.
Types of things. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Video games, porn. Yep.
those cost money?
Huh?
It said those cost money?
Video games and
could
porn.
definitely cost money.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I would imagine.
I would imagine.
I don't use either, but
I think it's expensive. It's expensive. It's really expensive
it's safer
too.
either.
I'm like trying to change the subject so hard right now. It's expensive to live. And
Yes.
so I have a lot of empathy for the younger, adults, because it's really expensive for everything. Everything is more expensive.
well, but women are finding a way to buy a house still.
Women are finding
or
a way
single
to.
women are.
Yeah, they're finding a way to make it happen.
Well, I hate to
I
say
think
it,
there's
but,
a
right?
lot of
But then,
reasons for that.
I think the maturity, like now being a dad and watching kids grow, the maturity of
Oh.
women is far beyond
Way.
the maturity of a dude. A dude doesn't start to mature until, like, looking back in my life, probably till my dang 30s. And girls, like, I'm seeing that they start to mature in their teens, like truly
Yeah.
mature. Think about long game, future, all those types of things. So.
Yep. They're thinking about buying a house.
Right.
obviously.
Does that come into play where guys are more thinking about going out to the bar, meeting people, living that life, living the life on the gram, right? And they're just, it's expensive, where women may be thinking about long-term investments and a future for themselves.
I think there's a lot of single men that think that they're, the woman is their mom. You know, they try to go find a mom. So.
Oh, it's interesting. I follow this guy on Instagram. His name is Sebastian. I don't know his last name, and I wish I did because his content's really good. And I would love for you to go check it out. But he was just talking about that the other day. He was talking about how a lot of men, may look for
A mother figure.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a
And
woman.
yes,
Absolutely.
It's
So they move from
yeah,
move
To
from
be
home
nurtured.
with mom to
Crazy.
another.
it's super crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we know somebody like that.
Oh,
Yeah, those darn millennials.
That's like
let's just blame it all on the
Yeah,
millennials.
it's like
But
his
you're a
slogan for this
millennial.
I know
Darn
that, but you have no
millennials.
idea my whole life how much had been shoved down my throat by
Those Dharma
by
millennials.
all the generations above me.
Really?
Yep.
So like
There's still a stigma out there around it.
I don't know. I don't even like see people in term of generation. And I'm like X, but I'm right on the border of
Same.
millennial and X. And so, I mean, Gen X is an interesting generation. We get forgotten. Like we get no love to
But
be
we're
real.
the best. We didn't grow up with technology, right? We know how to talk to people, and we know how to use technology because it started like when we still were interested in it, right? I was super interested in technology and computers
Yes.
and
Absolutely.
phones, and I remember when I got email on my phone. Wow, it's crazy, you know? It's like amazing. I can be able to shoot an email while I'm
It
driving.
was a game changer.
Our
for
generation still knows what Atari is.
Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
So, but I feel bad for the kids now. All their communication's on a phone, and they don't know how to talk to a person face to face, and then they're like, So it's definitely a difference.
I feel like our generation has some of the most DIYers, right? Because you had to it came with that mentality of you had to figure it out, right? Like where I think so much of the, later generations it's just being done for you, right? I don't know. That's been my experience. Ton of DIYers in Gen X.
Speaking of DIYers, you don't do it yourself. You don't know how to do it. We're into so many houses, man.
Talk about that, Jay.
I mean,
Dude.
yeah,
Bad idea.
There people destroy their house by trying to do it themselves, and like they cause way more damage than they do to make it look nice, and it's just so if you don't know how to do something, pay someone to do it. Don't do it yourself.
Well, they don't have the money.
because when you sell
But you pay for it anyways.
you lose it.
But they don't see it that way.
Yeah, because they're living in it.
Yep.
But to Jay's point, though, right?
Just leave it the way it
homeowners,
is,
Take
then.
this piece of advice by doing a DIY. Let's use a drywall repair, right? Something that you can live with.
We have one
whatever
right
else.
now in North Carolina, man. And our inspector didn't take any pictures of it, but the agent sent us a bunch of pictures of these horrible
Drywall
patches all over the place, and we're like, how in the hell do we not see that?
Yeah.
Anyways,
And it's got to be fixed, right? So
Well, yeah,
even though
it
they
looks
didn't pay for
horrible,
it at
and
the
so
time,
we have people walking through it, and they're going like, what happened here? What happened?
Yeah, they don't
there?
want to write an offer.
What's going on with these ceilings? Like, there's something going on with this house, So
so they're paying for it one way or another. Is what you're saying, right?
yeah, absolutely.
They didn't pay for it now, but you go to sell your house, you're paying for it then.
Yeah,
and at the end of
but
the day,
hey-
you're usually paying more for it then.
But you got to remember, though, if they don't have the physical cash, they're just paying for it based on the future equity of their property. So
yeah, I mean, I guess
That's valid.
Shoot,
the scale balance.
And at least they get to enjoy their renovations.
Yeah.
they enjoy that.
They're learning. This was my test
filled-in
project.
hole.
I'm much better now.
They feel confident.
Well, at least it's not open anymore. The ceiling's not open, so it looks like shit. But
At least there's
closed
not
up.
sunlight coming through.
There is a massive project that was purchased by the Cash Plus last year in Florida, and one of the son that was living in the property, he was convinced the remodel he was doing to the property was on par. And when we came in with, hey, here's what some repairs look like. Oh, that's how I could do it for so much cheaper. Yeah, if you want to keep destroying your property, which is to Jay's point.
yeah, we
I
have
could do this.
We
I
got to
could do this
take
myself. I'll do the work
apart.
myself.
Yeah, we're taking apart all of his work to redo it and make it look good. Yeah, it's yeah. Anyways,
I
you got
remember.
that struck a nerve on me.
Yeah, I guess so.
The moral of the conversation, realtors or anybody who's just a homeowner or somebody who knows somebody who owns a house, and you get caught up in this conversation. If somebody wants to do, a fairly big repair or a remodel, make sure that you give them some advice and they seek some professional advice, so it's done right, so it doesn't come back and bite them in the what.
Yep.
Well, not only that, sometimes an addition or a remodel, an improvement is done to your taste and your likings, which is not everybody else's tastes or likings, right? Like, there's such a controversial topic. I'm sure you guys, like me, have walked into many houses that they have high-end, expensive flooring, and it's terrible.
Just you don't like it.
Yeah, like it's like a super gloss, right? Like,
what I'm loving right now? What I'm loving are soapstone countertops.
I do love
Those are
soapstone.
pretty cool.
I love them.
I'm not gonna lie, soapstone's dope.
Yeah, it is. You don't see it often, but it definitely has a really cool look
it's
and
softer,
feel.
right? And it's more of a vulnerable surface. At least
I don't even know.
I went through a remodel not too long ago, and soapstone was one of the considerations. And the reason why we didn't go with it is
Kids.
Yeah.
We were warned. Like, you're gonna spend a bunch of money because you can like fill the chips and whatever else that would happen to it, but it would be a never-ending process of fixing it.
So what did you go with, Elliot?
Quartz, and guess what? I've still had 2 chips.
Yep.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh dear, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
We went with quartz too.
Yeah.
It's
But
economical.
quartz is still not as hard as granite. That's the slightly more affordable. I mean,
nice.
Very, very slightly, and it's man-made. But
What do we got going on in the deal of the week?
Keith, what do we got?
Deal of the week.
Well, again, I know I say this a lot. It's always a little difficult, right? Because it's like, how many stories do you want to tell? And
All
a lot
of them.
and a lot of
Tell
them,
me all
a lot of
of
them
them.
are similar because they're different, but you find yourself in a similar vibe. I thought this one was unique. We've had something like this, but not quite. So there's one in Colorado, and
It's a house in Colorado.
pure data shows if the property is rehabbed, it can sell for a lot more, and the seller just doesn't want to do it. And most of the time that's not the case. And they're gonna quote unquote net more money up front just based on the way that the numbers can be worked. So I finally got the realtor on the phone. I'm like, well, all right, paint the picture here for me, because what am I missing here? And so the family has gotten, obviously there's always, I don't know if it's the grandma or the mom based on, who's facilitating the
dynamic.
that yeah. And I guess the home that they moved into, it doesn't matter how much money they make on the house, because all of it has to go toward it. So even if they make more, it doesn't benefit them at all. And so I didn't get into the in and outs of what that. I was like, well, okay, well, why would you do that agreement?
Is it like a will or something like that, or like some sort of agreement?
No, I guess it's for the period of time that they put an agreement with this facility to cover these people's expenses. So,
Gotcha.
Maybe it's like, hey, you give me all your money now and you can have this time frame. That's what it made it sound like, maybe because they wouldn't have enough. I don't know. I didn't get into all the ins and outs. It was just very odd. So he's like, well, what's quicker? Well, of course, what's quicker is to buy the property as is and turn around and list that bad boy immediately and not have to deal with maybe a 3 to 5 week rehab. And he said getting the money as quickly as possible in both scenarios is the most beneficial to the seller. And I just thought that was unique. Yeah. I've never had that happen before. And so that's the deal of the week. But at the end of the day, it's still all about a win-win and what worked for that seller. That was the best route. That's the fastest route. That's what makes the most sense. And it's
they
still
got their cash now.
It's still
additional
cool to be
cap.
able to help someone out in a very unique circumstance. So
Well, let's talk about that though, real quick, because I think that's depending on which lens that you look at, could be somewhat controversial. And here's what I mean by that. Yes, you're losing the time of rehab, right? That's obviously the time that the property's not on the market and open to all available buyers is the slowdown. However, the one thing I'm going to, I think that, a lot of our listeners and, industry experts on here would see this as sometimes when a house hits the market and there's more inventory, if it doesn't show right, it's just going to sit on the market, or they'll be looking for that super deal. And I don't mean necessarily sit on the market, meaning that you're going to have to run through 100 buyers to find that one, versus if it's rehabbed, you run through 10 and 9 of them want it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like I said, it's a bit
absolutely.
of an opinion.
That's always the part of the reason why you do a rehab is for sell for the highest price possible and the quickest amount of time.
Exactly.
As long as there's money to be made, right?
As long as
obviously
there's money to be
it doesn't make sense to do a $50,000 rehab to get a $50,000 price increase, right? I mean,
then you
Well,
lose the time.
Well,
but if it's time, then
Something that one of our property analysts pointed out, because Keith, from time to time, Keith will share like a cool before and after in one of our channels in Slack, and everybody will get excited because, sometimes you kind of lose touch of how we're really impacting the marketplace in such a positive way. And one thing that Tushar had mentioned last time you posted one in a Slack channel, he said is that the property will leave a mark for a very long time for everyone to see and enjoy. And I thought that was a really cool observation, right? Like, not only is hopefully everybody making more money, but it's also bringing, this property back to life, and that homeowner that's going to buy it is going to enjoy it and love it for years to come.
Well, and especially in a place like Colorado, right? Like there's, houses that are older, and usually you put in $1, you get 3 back. Not always, but in a lot of that market, just because the comp swing is so high. And again, I'm obviously speaking in a massive generality. That's not always the case, but I'm with you.
Always the case. $1 in, 3 out.
Yep, it's always the case.
Let's do it.
It's more like $1 in, $1.50 out.
$1 in, $1.10 out.
Well, obviously there are communities that you can put in one.
No, I know. I hear you.
Yeah,
I'm picking up what you're throwing down.
Yeah.
So anyway, the last point I want to make on what you said, I think that's so valid, is actually elevating the community, right? Like when it's a community that's been, average houses built in 1930, 40, 50, and it's just due for that facelift, or maybe it's facelift number 3, and it's kind of coming through, you're actually elevating the community. Like how many communities have we seen here in the Phoenix Metro that they were very affordable, but all of a sudden investors come in, start rehabbing them, and all of a sudden prices up, and it's the community as a whole, not one house.
Yeah. So mortgage demand jumped nearly 10% to start the year.
Ooh.
Wow.
Even as interest rates ticked up again a little bit. I mean, we had the 10-year that went up over 4, I guess, today. So
are they saying apps went up 10%? Is that what?
mortgage demand. I don't know if it's.
It's got to be
applications.
applications.
So that's how it's measured.
To purchase a home rose 6%.
Okay.
And then the rest must have been refi.
Yep. Applications to refinance a home loan jumped 19%.
Wow.
From the previous week, we're 30% higher than the same week 1 year ago. So 30% higher than last year's week. So yeah. And looks like conforming loan balances 726 or below increased to about 6.81% to 6.76% for loans with 20% down payment. So.
Oh, well, that's good news. I mean, that's kind of what we're all feeling.
Yep.
It's a little bit busier.
New year, new mortgage.
New year, new real estate market.
Yes.
New year, new payment. So I got something that I want to talk a little bit about that I think is actually very impactful. What is this, podcast 2 basically for the year?
Yes.
And for me, I want to give some, in the advice, I want to make sure that I'm giving something about building a business. And so this is something that comes from Russell Brunson, and we can kind of put that in the remarks below. Colby, I'll share the video on some of these things. But it's really a term called the value ladder. And what it is it's taking people through a sequence of basically building value, right? i.e. value ladder. And so let me give you kind of just like a walkthrough scenario of how we can do that as, real estate professionals. And so the first thing is that you're going to want to do is you have to create that, the attention, the awareness, the bait, ultimately. So like that could be something like an email, an ad that you're putting on running on some type of social platform, even in something as simple as a flyer, meet and greet somebody even from that standpoint.
Like flip your own house.
Exactly. And then 2, you're going to take them to like a landing page that has a simple, compelling header, like get a instant, get your home's instant value, right? Something simple like that as far as those types of things. Search for houses for free, right? These are different things that you can do to take them in that particular process. Then from there, you want to make your first offer, right? At that point, hey, get a free monthly report on your house. So they're getting that particular opt-in, and you're actually starting to now, that's almost kind of like your first sale, right? And when we start looking through the value ladder, you're taking somebody that you haven't met, you're getting to know them, and you're ultimately building the value, and you're getting their information in that particular place. And then once we get that, that's where we want to start focusing on that upsell. So now that they're getting that free monthly report, then that's when based on their behaviors, they'll be looking for cash offers or search for hot deals in 85249, right? These are different things that you could do to start building that. And then you're actually capturing that information. And then once they capture those informations by either opens or engagement in that, that's when you really then want to take the contact. And you're almost taking that person that you've never met, and it's almost like they have now met, and I get to say, hey, Jason, it's Elliot. Hey, you've been getting home reports from me on your house over there on Main Street for the last 6 months, and I see that last week you had requested a cash offer on your house, and I wanted to reach out to you and see how I could be of service and educate you on that process.
That's cool.
So this is, again, just kind of a sequence that I really wanted to outline for us. I know that, I think a lot of times when the agents look at that, they look at it as a snapshot versus the step-by-step process of what it takes to actually get there and take those people through that particular value ladder and ultimately create new clients.
That's cool. I would really wish agents would do more just like real stuff, like teaching people how to sell their house for sale by owner,
By themselves, yeah.
Just like bam, most agents would freak out, no, why would I do that? Then they wouldn't use me. No, give them that value, give them that the tips on that, because there are so many people that they think about for sale by owner, but then they eventually go on to list. But if you can be that agent that's teaching people how to sell their house for sale by owner, you're gonna get so many more clicks and connections.
Well, I'll never forget when we went to 40s at Gary Vaynerchuk's office in New York, and it was the second 40s he ever did, and it was 16 people, and it was a fortune, and you basically got to spend the whole day with Gary V and his team, and you learned a lot about marketing and all of that, and we all had an opportunity to one-on-one ask Gary V questions about our industry. And at the time we were really focused on building the brokerage and really serving agents in their business, and so I had asked them I asked Gary, what's going to be the best way that our agents can really serve consumers, and he told us, show them how to do what you do without you.
Yep.
That's it. Show them how to do it themselves. He's good, double down, make all your content on how someone can do something without you, and be the leader in that thing. And then they'll come to you when they've given up doing the thing that you're trying to teach them to do, that they need an expert to do, because you were the one that told them how to do it.
Yep.
Love it.
And so it was really powerful. We did not take his advice.
Well, we weren't really producing.
No, we weren't.
It's a form of a lead magnet, right? We're doing that now on all kinds of ways.
Right. And yeah, so anyway, it was interesting. For viral vibes, we got the Galentine's Day pink Stanley going viral, and no, this isn't it, but yes, I do have one. It's coming. So today I want to talk about Stanley and what they've done, and essentially they're going viral. Stanley has partnered with Target, and they're dropping the tumbler you see here, but in pink and in red, and people are just going nuts for it. Apparently women are showing up at Target at 5 a.m. in the morning. They're waiting hours till it opens. They're bum rushing the door. They're fighting each other for a chance at a cup. And Stanley is not a new brand, but they've tapped into a new market. They've taken their revenue from $70 million to about $750 million in just a few short years by using scarcity, by using drops, and by tapping into a new market, which is women, primarily between like the ages of like 25 and 40, are just nuts for the Stanley tumbler. And if you are a valued Zoodealio member, you might have gotten one from Christmas for us. We love the Stanleys. And I thought it was a really cool story. And that is what is going viral now. Maybe Colby can insert a little video for you to show you the craziness. But yeah, it's worse than like the crazy Black Fridays you would see.
Yeah,
it's
but
crazy.
But if you're a single woman, you gotta save your money so you can buy a house. Don't buy a Stanley.
I know Stanley will be like half your down payment.
Yeah.
So it's like
they're
the
like $500
$500
on eBay.
It's bad, Elliot. It's bad. And I'm
2024
so
toilet paper.
excited I got one. I'm
Yes.
pumped.
So we went to Target when they first started dropping them,
Yes.
and Kayla asked the guy, "Do
I
you
was
guys have any?" I'm like,
asking
"Oh no, these ladies
everybody.
come in at like 6 a.m. and they run towards the aisle to get them, and they grab them." And I was like, "What are they doing with them?" And then so I'm like, "Let me check eBay." So I checked eBay. I found 2 on eBay.
Nice.
So I bought them.
Thank you.
So I don't have to run. I didn't wake up at 6 o'clock and go buy one for you.
There was none on Facebook Marketplace.
No.
Actually, there were for like
Yeah, they were like
$1,200.
even more.
Really?
Yes.
I think I bought mine for like $100 a
Yeah,
piece.
what's this? What's
think
what's a Zoodealio tumbler go for if I throw that on? My wife has 2.
It's a good cup, Keith. It's a good cup, and they float. And
a grand.
apparently, if your car gets in a fire, the Stanley will survive. There's actually there was a lady that posted a video of her car fire, and the only
keep
thing
ice.
that lasted was the Stanley. Yeah, and it still had ice inside. That I don't know about, but
And if you need to break the window, you just take it and break the window. and it's like a weapon
it's
too.
a self-defense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You hold that and
mechanism.
smack the guy across the head, and he'll be out.
Well, hey, thank you so much for tuning in with us today. If you are enjoying this content, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you get updated of our new episodes.